Hello, everyone. My name is Andrea Christensen. I am the Director of Social Services at the North Dakota State Hospital in Jamestown. I have worked here at the State Hospital for almost 7 years now um, as an inpatient social worker, and then about 2 years as the director. Denise with Protection and Advocacy reached out to us and asked that one of us speak in regards to mental health advanced directives. And so I'm very grateful to be able to have this opportunity to speak to you on them, as it's something here at the hospital that we encourage everyone to fill out. So as stated before, today we're going to discuss mental health advanced directives, also known as psychiatric advanced directives. So if I go back and forth between the two, they're the same thing. In recent years, psychiatric advanced directives have become more well known. A lot of us are very familiar with the medical advanced directive, the advanced directives that have detail in regards to what we want done if we're not able to speak for ourselves. And so the psychiatric advanced directives play an important part in that as well now, and letting our wishes be known if we're not able to make those decisions at a time. So they can be very important part in an individual's recovery, and they can be recognized across the country. Each state, just like with other advanced directives, of course, has their own laws in regards to them and how they see advanced directives as well. A mental health advanced directive can be defined as a legal document that allows people to express their preferences on where to receive care and what treatments they are willing to undergo. If they want, they can assign an agent or a representative who is trusted and legally empowered to make decisions on the individual's behalf. So just like with the medical advanced directives, this would be their healthcare agent. An individual, though, does not have to choose an agent for a psychiatric advanced directive. A lot of clients that we've seen that come into the hospital are very hesitant to put down someone for an agent. Their concerns are that the individual will have them committed to a psychiatric facility like the state hospital or somewhere else without them needing to go. And that's not always the case. Yes, an agent can have someone committed to a psychiatric facility for up to 45 days. And then after those 45 days, the individual has to be committed to the hospital through the court process. And in North Dakota, I know I mentioned the individual can only be committed for 45 days. So, but the individual can also add it to their wishes that the agent cannot commit them. If there is a certain hospital that an individual does not want to go to, for example, when I first started here at North Dakota State Hospital, we had an individual who actually came in under an emergency commitment, did not want to be admitted to the state hospital. She had a psychiatric advanced directive, and in there stated that she did not want to go to NDSH. And so then having to have her go someplace else to receive the care that she needed, and recognizing that. So if the individual does write down an agent on their psychiatric advanced directive, it should be someone that the individual can trust, someone they know, someone that is going to be willing to follow those instructions. The agent cannot be an employee of the individual's healthcare team or care service provider. It needs to be someone that is separate. We get that a lot here at the hospital. Clients will feel like they connect with staff, and all of a sudden they want staff to be their healthcare agent, and then just educating that individual of that's a line we can't cross, good boundaries, and just being aware of those. Other than an agent, there are common components of the mental health advance directive. One, having the individual putting down specific instructions, your preference for hospitalizations, alternatives to hospitalizations, what medications shouldn't be used, could be used if there's any allergies to certain psychiatric medications, and then emergency interventions as well. The emergency interventions including things like seclusion, restraint, emergency medications, or participation in studies or drug trials. We don't do the drug trials here at the state hospital. I'm not sure about other hospitals. We do utilize seclusion and restraint if need be in emergency situations. And so having those contraindications written down is always very important. If the individual has had a history of some form of trauma, if they have joint problems, things like that, those are things hospitals should know as in regards to, especially if they're going to use seclusion and restraint, as it can cause triggers in an individual. The second part, they should have instructions that also list who should be notified immediately. If the individual becomes hospitalized, who do we contact? Do they have family right away? Do they need to contact their landlord right away to let them know where they're at? Things like that. If there are people who should not be allowed to visit, those should be written on the mental health advance directive as well. Or people who should visit, things like that. If the individual has children or pets, who is going to have temporary custody of those. That's one thing we get a lot, not so much with children, but more so with pets. Clients come in a lot and say, my cat or my dog is going to be at home and there's no one there. I don't have a roommate. There's no one going in there. And then having to essentially scramble to find someone to watch this cat or this dog. Sometimes it involves getting animal control involved to take it to a shelter so that it's safe while that individual receives help. Things like that. And then it's also going to include, and just like a advanced directive for your physical health, the psychiatric advanced directive also has a signature page that consists of a spot for a notary and or two witnesses. So when you're looking at the mental health advanced directives, to make sure that it has that page with it, because that is going to finalize the mental health advanced directive. And to make sure that it's your legal document at that point. One thing we've noticed when discussing advanced directives, especially with individuals who come into our hospital, is that they feel anxious. They don't want to create this advanced directive thinking they're giving up all of their power, especially when it comes to choosing an agent. It is important to assure them that this only takes effect if a doctor the doctor makes the decision that the individual lacks the capacity to make decisions for themselves. It's something we stress here a lot, that it's not something that once gets started, it can't be reversed. The attending physician will decide when that individual lacks the capacity, as mentioned, and documents it in the individual's medical record. And so using those when the individual comes into the hospital, at times, the majority of the time, the individual does lack the capacity when being admitted to the state hospital. And so being able to have someone to help make those decisions for an individual has been, we've seen a lot of success, being able to get the client medicated right away and faster times for stabilization. So they're not in a psychiatric facility as long. Again, clients, just like you or I, would be very anxious being admitted to a psychiatric facility, and then having or not knowing essentially if I'm going to be able to make decisions after I leave here anymore. And so education on the advanced directives as well for our clients themselves is very important. Again, stressing that this can be reversed. And then once you're able to make your own decisions, the doctor will state that in your record, and then your agent won't be making decisions for you anymore. There are circumstances when providers may decline to follow the instructions on an advanced directive or instructions given by an agent. The first one being that the provider feels unable to follow the instructions due to conflict or just to their conscious reasoning. In this case, it is that provider must find another provider that's willing to follow the instructions of the psychiatric advanced directive. Another situation, excuse me, is that the provider considers that the instructions run contrary to reasonable medical standards. And the final situation is when the individual is considered to require comfort cares or alleviation of pain, and the treatment required for that purpose would be in conflict with the individual's instructions. The North Dakota Century Code, Chapter 23, -6.5 also provides more information in regards to this type of situation. If the individual is hospitalized under North Dakota's involuntary treatment laws, it is likely that the healthcare provider could decline to follow the instructions of the advanced directive or of the agent as well. Again, the North Dakota Century Code, Chapter 23-6.5 discusses advanced directives and is a very good resource as well. Individuals are able to make changes to this document. So it is not something that once it's written, you can never change. After it's finalized, if the individual wants to revoke an agent or maybe change some of the instructions, it's best to do so in writing. Yes, we can voice those wants, but again, it is important to write them down and have it refinalized. And then the updated versions of the document should be copied and then go to the individual's primary healthcare provider. If they see other outpatient providers in regards to their mental health, and then the original should stay with that individual. When finalizing an advanced directive, the individual must be of sound mind. Here at the state hospital, if a client is interested in making an advanced directive, excuse me, if the client is interested in making an advanced directive, the treatment team here will decide when they're of that sound mind. Of course, it's usually closer to when they're getting ready for discharge to be able to create this document. They have to be at least 18 years of age as well. And so here at the North Dakota State Hospital, you have to be 18 years and older. We do not do adolescents here at the state hospital. The individual will need to understand the decisions being made and potential consequences of each decision. So sitting down, if there's certain medications the individual wants, sitting down with their doctor to discuss that and being able to make those choices, and then knowing the alternative choices to that as well. To finalize an advanced directive, the individual will need 2 witnesses and a notary. The notary can be an employee of a healthcare or long-term care provider that is giving direct care. With witnesses, at least one of them cannot be giving direct care to the individual. So whether it's a family member, a friend, a pastor, someone along those lines. But you will need 2 witnesses. It is important that the agent and the healthcare providers have a copy of the mental health advance directive as well. As mentioned before, the original should stay with the individual. And putting it, if the individual sees someone with Sanford or Essentia, having a copy given to that primary healthcare provider as well, so that it is in their medical record or their chart through that as well. And so I know I had touched on a little bit here at the state hospital, we try to strive for everyone to at least have the education on advance directives. Part of our admissions process is asking and acknowledging that the individual knows what an advance directive is, both medical and mental health, and striving that so that when they are of sound mind, to be able to discuss some of these concerns, discuss, if this is going to be something that happens a lot, can we create this so that we know what to do? Like, what is the individual's best plan of care at that point? Again, mental health directives, surprisingly, are not new, but they're newer, I suppose. I remember when I first started, I thought an advance directive covered everything. It does not. And to know the difference between a psychiatric advance directive and a medical advance directive. We do get a lot of clients that come in who have an advance directive, and then having to read through that, having to decide of, well, this is for financial or for medical. Psychiatrically, this does not cover. This covers their medical stuff. If the individual is a type 2 diabetic or has hypertension, you can help make choices in regards to their medical health, but psychiatrically, I can't have you make decisions because it doesn't state that. And so we have been striving here at the hospital to be more focused on the mental health advance directives and making sure clients have that information. If not, to at least assist them in maybe creating one as well before they are discharged back to a community, and back to their hometowns. That is all I have in regards to mental health advance directives. I want to thank you all for joining in and listening to this today. I know Denise and I will be available to ask questions, and we can try to answer them the best we can. So again, thank you. It was great being able to do this. This is my first time presenting on something like this, so a different experience for me, but thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea. If anybody has any questions, we will put her email address up and Denise's email address up, so you can email them, or you can also email us at the Mental Health America of North Dakota if you have any questions. One question I know that I think everybody will ask Andrea is, how do we obtain have the actual documents? Do we have to contact somebody like you, or can we get them online?
You can get them online, yes. If you want to contact me, that's just fine. We have copies here. All my social workers here at the state hospital have copies as well. But yes, actually, you can, this probably doesn't sound super professional, quick Google search, honestly, North Dakota Advanced Directive for Mental Health, and it actually brings lists of websites up, excuse me, lists of websites up that you can easily purchase, not purchase, they're free. You don't have to buy them, but that you can download and fill out. So.
Okay, thank you very much. And we thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.